Now back to Rudy Maxa's World.
Welcome back to Rudy Maxa's World. Nice to have you with me this weekend. As you know, we're coming to you live from the Four Seasons in Costa Rica. And one of the crops in Costa Rica, it's not a major crop, but it's certainly a significant one, at least in my life, is cocoa. And I just completed a chocolate-making lesson with a man who knows all about cocoa. His name is Henrik Bodholdt. Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Tell me a little about yourself, your background.
Well, my background is, I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark, and I've lived in Costa Rica for about 13 years. And basically, the cocoa is a hobby turned into a small business now.
And what is that business?
The business is sharing the wonders of cocoa and teaching people how to make their own very healthy chocolate, while at the same time learning about the culture and the nature of the cocoa.
Now, you didn't come here to do that, I presume, from Denmark.
No, that's true. I had other plans, but, life happened.
What is the history of cocoa here? How important is it to folks who have lived here forever and to the general agriculture output of this country?
It's not a huge crop. It's important mostly culturally for the few tribes that are left in Costa Rica, the indigenous tribes like the Bribris and the Cabecares. I'd say in general, people have forgotten a lot about the culture and the roots of the cocoa culture in Costa Rica, but it's a tendency that we're seeing now that people are reverting to the roots again.
I just finished your 1-hour course here, which is fascinating. We started with a fully mature cocoa bean, which you cut open and showed us what the beans look like inside. Do you call them beans? No, you actually call them...
We call them semillas in Spanish, which is basically a seed, and that's what it is. It's not a bean. That's a misleading term in English.
It comes out looking a little like, what is that white fruit that is sort of glossy with a hard seed in the center?
Well, there's a few of those fruits. It might be a lychee fruit, or
right, a lychee fruit. It looks like a lychee fruit. And then, what do you do with it then? Take me step by step, briefly through the process.
Well, what happens in the plantations is that they will harvest the fruits. They'll scrape out the beans or the seeds. Let's just call them that, with the fruit pulp that they're sitting in, and the fruit pulp will help ferment the beans, which is very important for the development of the flavor of the cocoa. Then the seeds are dried, and once they've been dried, they are usually exported to the chocolate manufacturers, and from there on, it's a roasting, grinding, and refining process.
And we did all those things here within about a half an hour. You roasted them in a great big pan here over a flame. And it's almost like a chestnut, something in New York you'd see on the street for chestnuts. Then we took the skin off, and then you put it in sort of an looks almost like a meat grinder.
Yes, that's right. That's an old-fashioned corn grinder. It's used locally here to grind the corn for the tortillas. And it's perfect for cocoa, too. We ground it, and then we basically mixed it with sugar and milk and other ingredients that people prefer to put in their chocolate, and then you had a very basic, healthy, and delicious unrefined chocolate.
Well, as it came out of the grinder, it almost looked like coffee, ground coffee to me. And then you mixed a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sweet milk, and a little bit of dried milk to give it some moisture. And then we made snowballs out of it. And you could sprinkle a little sea salt on it if you want. You could put some nuts on it. And you just sort of packed it hard. But the most incredible thing, and you also said this was your defining moment, is when you're turning that corn grinder and those beans are becoming granular powder. It's like the most incredible fudge you've ever tasted or smelled coming out of an oven.
Yes, it's true. I mean that it just attacks your nostrils and it goes right into your vortex, and you just feel happy right away. Just that grinding process. It's a very intense experience, and everybody lights up and smiles when we do this. This is an amazing experience every time. I never grow tired of it.
There's been a lot written in the last 10 years or so about the benefits, particularly of dark chocolate and health. And you mentioned that in Panama there were some tribes who are related to tribes here. And, well, you tell me about that study that found what?
Well, it's a study performed by scientists from the Harvard University in the U.S. and it basically showed that the tribes with a high daily intake of cocoa they have a very low frequency of cancer and heart disease.
What is the name of that tribe?
The Kuna tribe. Kuna Yala, they're also famous for handicraft, but they also have a very high intake of cocoa. They drink cocoa every day, and that seems to be keeping their tribe very healthy.
The researchers apparently compared their health and longevity, I suppose, to neighboring tribes, which, except for the cocoa, were living in the same environment and eating basically the same diet, apparently.
Yes, basically. The only real difference was the cocoa intake, and it's obviously just an empiric study, but it had some very definitive conclusions.
Which was less heart disease?
Less heart disease, less cancer cases as well.
That is incredible, and it gives me a great excuse to keep eating the dark chocolate, which I love so. Now, you told me that you hope someday to have your own cocoa plantation here.
Well, it would be a dream of mine. Cocoa plantation is basically a rainforest, so you could combine creating more rainforest with increased cocoa and chocolate production. What's wrong with that?
And is that going to happen?
Well, I hope so. I mean, so far my plans have happened more or less when I wanted them to, so that's my long-term goal.
Henrik Bodholdt is the chocolate expert here at the Four Seasons in Costa Rica. You're listening to Rudy Maxa's World. Nice to have you with me here this weekend. We'll be back right after this break.